Welcome back to the Beauty Inspires Beauty podcast. I am your host, Jessica Burgio. If you're new here, we are a podcast all about bringing you guest experts in the industry of beauty. So today I'm very honored for these three to be with us today. If you've been following us for a while, you would have caught Lucas was on an earlier podcast where we talked about life, business, education, and now these three are partners in a salon. So I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you for being here.
Of course, thanks for having us.
So the premise behind starting this podcast was really, so I could talk to all of you guys. It's a very selfish reason for having a podcast, but then it turned, I'm just being honest, then it turned into a really cool way for me to get to have these conversations that people don't get to hear.
Sure.
Like we just spent about, 10, 15 minutes talking about, how they got started in the industry and how, their journey to where we are now, is filled with all sorts of things, and the conversations we've had with new stylists coming in, where they want to be, what they're doing, what they're up to. So I just kind of want to get a pulse for where you guys are at right now and what has been going on in your life, because we're just coming off of quarantine. So it is, if you're watching this later, we pre-record them. It's still, what month is this? October? It's October, middle of October.
Middle of October.
So yeah, talk to us a little bit about, I don't know who wants to jump in first.
I will.
Intro yourself. Yeah. Let the people know.
My name's Clinton Norris, and I'm one of the owners of Citizen Salon. And that's what we've been up to the most. That's kept us the busiest lately. Just because it's a brand new open. We've been open a month and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, yeah, thank you.
We did it every week.
We made it.
It's like keeping the baby alive.
Still breathing. So that's been keeping us busy. We wanted to do a lot of the work ourselves, so that way we look over at a corner, we're like, okay, we did that. Yeah. And if we want to change it, we could change it. And so it's kept us really busy, with opening a salon.
That's awesome. So explain to us how this salon came to be to you, because I feel like this was like a happenstance that you guys, that wasn't the plan, was to open a salon. So kind of back us up a little bit as to how you got to this, and then we'll go all the way back to the beginning, because we always want to know how people got started. Because you see the after product of, I own a salon, I have an education, and then you're like, how did they get there? Are they just lucky? Did they do something special that I can't do? Like, what are the secrets and how you got here?
Well, we together, at one point, she worked for Paul Mitchell. And so
by the way, these two are husband and wife.
We are married. And so we both worked at Paul Mitchell School. Okay. And then once we got married, and we were like, let's start a family immediately. We had kids from the beginning. And so it worked. And so we had a son. And so we were like, okay, if we put him in childcare while we're teaching at the school, that'd be great. And then what happens is you make two babies. So we're like, there's no way that we're going to, we thought with us, the way it worked is like, she was like, I don't want to be away from the kids all day. Yeah. We're going to say, here's our babies. We'll be back in a little while to pick them up. So some people that worked for my parents, it worked for them, but it's not for us. And so she was like, I just want to do hair. Being in the school, teaching it for so long, and then the after product, someone else gets the credit because you taught them, which is great. Yeah. Your after product is actually the student that did really well. And she's like, I just want to be in the salon. And so we thought, what's the easiest way for us to do that without paying booth rental to somebody else, commission to somebody else, hourly? And we were like, let's just open a little tiny solo. Yeah. And so solo was that way that we did that.
Yeah, it was really cool. We started first off, we were like, I don't want to be a tiny solo. So we were like, do we have any friends or anyone we know that would want to do this with us? And so we ended up finding a girl that worked in the salon with us too. And so we had a little 3-chair solo, and it was great. And then quarantine happened and we were shut down, and then we're like, hey, let's open a salon. It basically went like that. Wow. It really did. We had
the conversation might have been that short.
It might have been that short.
And sometimes things push you to make decisions like that you wouldn't otherwise had the what to make.
Yeah. Right. I think we were filming some stuff for Paul Mitchell in the salon. Two's always better than one. So he's filming something, and then I have the camera in my hand, just behind the scenes guy, and then we switch. He's behind the scenes guy, and a friend of ours, or someone we knew, was selling their salon and moving, and we were like, can you text her and find out how much it is? And I was like, hold on, I text her. And then we're like, should we do this? Should we do this? I think maybe, let's
Yeah,
get Lauren on the phone.
They called
Yeah.
me. They called me, and they're on speakerphone. And the first thing he said, like Lucas said, was like, "Hey, are we about to buy a salon?" And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yo, catch me up. What is going
Yeah.
on?
I'm like, "Wait, what salon? What are you talking about?" And then it really like organically happened from there, and it really just like worked. Like we found that space. We went in with a clear mind. Like we were trying not to dream too much about it, but we just couldn't help it when we were in there. We're like, "Oh, this is such a big space. This, we can totally do this and do that." And we immediately were like, we laid out the numbers, we laid out like the logistics, and then we're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then
It was quick, and I think everybody kind of took some sort of position. And Lauren's like, "Oh, we need to get this, and this," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like doing the permits and like
wow,
the
that's a good team.
licensing, and then they're like, "I don't want anything to do with that, Lauren.
Yeah.
You just do that." And I'm like, "I love doing that," so I'm like,
And like, who knew, right? You were like,
She's
I'm
got
on
her
it. Yeah.
folder,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they call it my red
The
folder.
red
I
folder
love that.
comes out.
Yes.
Stuff
Oh my
serious.
Well, that's like super mom, I think you just take over and you're like, I got it, don't worry about it. It's a female thing.
Yeah.
But
I've kept two
It
kids
is.
alive.
I can
Yeah.
handle this.
I can handle some paperwork.
That is such a cool story. I love that. So it's interesting because having these conversations with other stylists and other salon owners and, the people I've got to interview through this podcast, it's common questions keep coming up. Like, when do you know it's time to go from commission to booth rent is one. And then when do you know when it's time to maybe go out on your own? Because you guys know a lot of people think that when they work for a salon that, I could do it better, or I could make keep more of my money if I go do my own thing. And it's really simple math, and we were talking about that earlier, just about figuring out your numbers and kind of knowing where you're at. And sometimes we jump into situations that aren't going to serve us. Yeah. So if you do the numbers and it makes sense, and the three of you are on board, like why wouldn't you do it?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was what came up. Like, why not?
Yeah.
We kept having people tell us that, like financial advisors, like it just, everyone was like, when we laid out the numbers and gave it to them raw, they were like,
"Yep,
it's dumb not to."
But I think
why
all of
wouldn't
us
you do
had
that?
like leaned on our circle and been like, "So I have this opportunity," and like, we're all probably having the same conversation.
Yeah,
with, like,
totally.
Different groups of people, and
Totally.
everybody's like, "Well, what do you have to lose?" And I was like, "I don't really know.
I don't think anything yet.
Like, I'm trying to find it, but I didn't. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Send it."
There was
Totally.
yeah.
And that's how I came to be in this space too. Was it kind of just fell in my lap after several years of on and off looking for the right space. I would try to force something to work, and it just nothing had worked. And I would say on and off for like 6 or 7 years, I tried to find a space that felt right, and that wasn't too big because I knew I'd been in big salons, which I loved. We talked about that earlier too. Like being in the energy of a big space it's magical. Like you walk into a big salon that's pumping, and you have like these high level stylists just turning out amazing hair, and there's nothing quite like it. It's like, like live music kind of is how I relate it to. It's just like so many different energies in the room. But at some point in your career, I think you come to a place where you just want to be surrounded by people, like-minded people who can focus and work, and like it's a peaceful environment, but you're still inspiring each other. So it's like such a, and so when this space came and fell on my lap, I did the same thing. I did my numbers, and I was like, why wouldn't I do it? Like I had no reason not to do it. And is it hard? Yeah. Is it a lot of work? Hell yeah. But the rewards is it's yours, and you can make it whatever you want. Like you guys said, you can expand like we were talking about earlier. So let's go back a little bit further, because you don't get here without doing all the things that you did. So what was before teaching at Paul Mitchell? How did you get started in this industry in general is always a question I love to ask people, because one of the things is there's like a stigma still around I'm just a hairdresser, or we go to beauty school because we can't figure out what else to do.
Or it's like a backup plan. For me, I played music before I did hair, and so that's what brought me to California.
Oh, cool.
So a local band from San Diego asked me to play with them, and so I moved here. They actually picked me up on tour.
Awesome.
So they just drove through Texas where I grew up, and they're like, "Get in!" So I got in, and then I never went back.
Wow.
So I played music for about 7 years as a career. Did a bunch of fun stuff. Went to Capitol Records a bunch. Hosted a show on MTV for like a few episodes. Traveled the world and did everything I wanted to do in the music industry. And a few other people that also played music said, "I think you should be a hairdresser." And I was like, what the hell does that supposed to mean? You know, like it was like a...
Where did that even come from? Were you styling the band?
Yeah.
What were you like?
No, we all had long hair.
Okay.
You know, and so, and then my hair's curly, so I flat ironed it.
I love that you just referenced mine was long.
Same
like,
length.
Like,
yeah, thank you. Yeah. That's the best compliment you can give a girl. Your hair's so long.
Yeah.
True.
So, and my hair was your length, so I was like flat ironing my hair. And so I think they thought, and I was into it.
Yeah.
And it was black.
Oh my god, I gotta see
oh
pictures.
my god.
Can that be the cover of this?
Yeah, oh my, please no. And then
there's some treasures out there.
There are some
illustrations.
Some guy did a weird illustration on his computer.
Of you with the long black
hair?
hair?
No, just my face.
Oh.
Yeah, with the black.
Just a little bust.
So that gives you a little backstory as to how come you're so comfortable in front of the camera now too, though, because you were on stage and there was probably technical stuff was like you did that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people that part's intimidating, like even getting the camera up and figuring out how to edit stuff and just speaking into the camera, let alone teaching something on the camera is like, you know, okay, yeah.
So that was a kind of the kickstart for me, and some people I looked up to in the music industry. They're like, I do hair when I'm at home, and I'm like, you do? And they're like, yeah, that's what I mean. If this goes under, which I for sure knew would, at some point you're not going to be the old guy on, you know, you become irrelevant at some point. I mean, for most people. And so it wasn't a backup plan, but I was like, I was just disenchanted with the music industry, and I wanted to do something that was creative, fun. I didn't want to go to work and clock in, and you know what I mean. So the hair industry sounded so creative and fun.
I think too, like, if you think about music in general, a lot of people that maybe start playing music and make it to some degree, there's a lot of overlap from the music industry to the hair industry.
Oh yeah.
So like a lot of like dudes that are like tired of strumming guitars, they're like, I'll do some hair now. Like it's like weird that a lot of people come from that similar background.
There's more than you would think.
Yeah.
And people are like, whoa, my friend that played music does hair now. So so that was me. I walked to a Paul Mitchell school, took a tour, and I was like, I could do this.
Wow.
And again, a bunch of outside sources said that it would be a great idea. So I was like, what have to lose? All the numbers add up. And so signed a contract the day I took a tour, and then didn't look back. I mean, it's all I've done, you know. And I feel like I want to be the kind of person that never half-asses something. If I go in, I want to be all in, and I want to experience every facet of like what it is to be a hair cutter, whether it's on stage, whether it's making videos, creating content. Also like creating curriculum. I just want to do it all as far as like haircutting goes, and so jumped in head first, whether the pool is full or not.
I love that. That's an incredible story, and that goes to show that like sometimes you just have to make a decision to decide. Like I always say, I think a mentor must have told me this a long time ago, you not making a decision is you still making a decision. So if you are going to do something, and anybody that I've seen be successful in this industry has decided to fully jump in whatever fashion that looks like. If they want to color, if they want to cut, they want to own a salon, they want to be a part of something education-wise, like you can't just dabble in something because your results are going to be just that. I couldn't just put a few podcasts out and hope that it like hits.
Sure.
It's not going to work. Right? So you see who's gone before you and what's worked for them, and like not being half-assed. Like I could literally, if I could press one thing on new stylists, it's that. Like if this is what you want to do, and if you want it to be a serious career, you have to treat it like that. So then there you are, you finished school, and then what?
I graduated. I worked for a Robert Cromian salon.
Okay, same, me too.
Yeah, downtown San Diego.
I'm
You're the only person that has. And so I assisted there for about a year. I decided to move to Orange County, and there wasn't a salon like Robert. There's still, I mean, not a salon like a Robert Cromian salon anywhere. No. So I was holding out to think, I can't find a salon that's like this. And one of the art directors for Paul Mitchell at the time said, I think you should be a beauty school teacher. And I looked her in the face, and not knowing what she did for our company, wholly, I said, if you can't do it, you teach it. I know. And she was like,
I've heard that.
Oh, okay. You know, she did kind of like, and that's what I was just thinking about, a crusty beauty school teacher. That's what I mean.
That's what I had.
Yeah. And
but you know, they didn't do one stitch of hair outside of the salon.
Yeah, they had done hair in like 15 years.
15 years. And that wasn't all my teachers. I mean, there were some great, and some of my favorite hair cutters were my teachers.
Right.
But at the same time, I just thought I was scared to be that. So not knowing, they called the school in Orange County and said, you need to hire this guy. And then so they told me, hey, we set up an interview for the school. And I was like, okay, like I didn't really want to do this, but I'm going to have to now because you're the art director for our company. You don't say no to that person if you want to have a career, I guess, is what I thought at the time, you know. And so I went in, did an interview. I was like a crappy teacher. I worked at a salon at the same time just to like, and I was working at the school just to make enough money because I was working out in the salon to build a clientele.
Yep.
And then slowly but surely, I just started teaching some people some stuff, and they were like, this is great, like changing their lives, just like in saying lift the hair to here, you know what I mean? Just things that I'd known. And so they just became these like these little hair cutting like proteges like in the school, just like flip their minds just by a little bit of knowledge. And so I got addicted to those moments. And I was like, you know what, like how can I make every single one of these people love hair cutting the way I do? And it was just sharing information. It wasn't anything magical. There was nothing special in my words or my hands, or I was just like, you got to pick the hair up higher if you're going to do what you want to do with it. And so knowledge, I think, is what flipped the script for some of these people. And I wound up less hours in the salon, less giving clients away to the other girls in the salon, because I wanted to be there full time. And so I just made the switch and the change. And I think being there full time, and picking, what I wanted to do, just allowed me to focus. I like a few, and like my wife can attest this, and Lucas can too. Is like I like a few things, but I like them a lot. You know what I mean? Like I love Vans, I like those. You know what I mean? And there's like a few things that I like, but those few things I love. Even like food, I could eat 3 things for the rest of my life.
Yes, you could.
So I was glad to focus, and it just kind of changed me a little bit to be the one that had to have the answers.
Right.
Because someone came up to you, like being a teacher, and they're like, hey, like what do I do here? And you're like, man, I'm not going to give you a BS answer right now, and I want to, because I want to be the one that has an answer. So it pushes you to learn and grow.
Totally.
So yeah.
So from that transition of teaching there, was that was that at a Paul Mitchell school there?
Yeah, in San Diego.
Well,
Costa Mesa, and I came down to San Diego.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Because if I think back, like sometimes I get confused because when I worked for Robert Cromeans, it was where the school is now. So that's how old I am.
Oh yeah, same spot. Yeah.
That's how old I am.
Same location.
Yeah. So back in the day, there was not a school like that in San Diego. So I did go to a crusty beauty school, and it barely got me to pass state board, and it gave me such a shitty perception of what this industry was like.
Yeah.
Luckily, my mom was like, listen, if this is what you're going to do, you're going to go work at the best salon in San Diego. And I'm like, well, where's that? And she's like, well, I just started getting my hair done at this place called Robert Cromeans. They charge me a fortune. They must be good. And I was like, okay. So it turns out a couple people from my school actually graduated before me. Alex Hurtado, he got a job at Roberts, and another girl got a job. So it was like they were on a hiring. So I got lucky to get in there. And, getting groomed at that age, I was like 19, with seeing what the industry could truly be like. And these stylists were like celebrity, like they treated their clients like they were celebrity, but they also acted like they were a celebrity. And I was like, oh, it just changed my whole mindset on what this industry could be like, how we could show up, how you could be a different person every day if you want. Like I could dress preppy, I could like whatever you want to be, and you can attract whatever kind of clientele you want. And apparently you could be Robert and come in and charge $500 for a haircut that you barely touched a person. I was like, listen, this industry is for anybody who wants to go and dive in. It's there's not a cooler industry. So how did you guys meet, and how did this come to be? So you were teaching up there, you were back and forth, you ended up back in San Diego?
Back in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah. I loved it. I mean, I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Me neither. I know.
Yes.
And then you came into play.
Yeah, so I got really lucky because I wanted to go to hair school. I'm actually from Arkansas.
Okay.
You'll hear my southern twang every once in a while if I talk fast, or if I talk to my mom on the phone. There's 2 times it comes out. Maybe when I'm angry too, I don't know. But I got lucky. There was a Paul Mitchell school, the first one in the entire state, opened up a few months before I was going to move to Dallas to go to the Dallas Paul Mitchell school.
Okay.
And this was like 13 years ago.
Oh, I remember. This is when Lucas and his brother's name, they had that thing. I think that's how Robert got into that school out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I went to school there, and it was a super new Paul Mitchell school. So I was like, this is great. Like, it was like really pretty and brand new, and I learned a good amount. Went into the salon, worked in the salon for a year. The school called me back and said, hey, we want you to be an educator in the school. Pay for your schooling to go back to the program to get your license. And I was like, me? I only have 1 year of experience, but I'll do it. I was like, I don't know, 19. Actually, I wasn't even old enough to take the educator test. You had to be 21 to take it. So I went to school when I was 20 and I had to wait a few months to even take the test to get my license.
What a big honor to be asked to come back and do that, though.
It made me feel really good, or they were really desperate.
Yeah.
One of the 2. So I did that, and I learned a lot about like just teaching people and managing people, especially because I was so young, and half the students were
older than you,
like 10 years older than me. So I learned a lot there. fast forward a few years, I'm still working in the school, working behind the chair a little bit just to like get my feel too, and then I start wanting to be on the advanced education team for the Paul Mitchell schools. And so long story short, we're at the same training because he's also doing that for cutting, and we meet, and I'm like, he's really cute. and
I was like, who is that?
Yeah, I did the same thing too. I was like, who's that guy? Because I knew everyone in the room except him, and same thing for him. So I'm like, we've just missed each other or something? I don't know. And so I went back home. We started talking, like, I think it was through Instagram, which was funny because that was when you had to send someone a picture to engage in a message conversation.
Send a message back then,
So he sent me, everyone always says, what picture did he send you? It was a palm tree.
Aww.
It was like,
how appropriate.
Yeah. It was very tasteful. It was a palm tree in front of his like front yard, I guess, right? Yeah, in front of our that we lived at. So we just kept talking, and then we saw each other at a hair event in Las Vegas that we worked at together like a few months later, and I was like, I want to move to San Diego. I had always wanted to be in Southern California, but just didn't even know, like, where do I start? My whole family's here. I was born here. And so I said, if I can, I kind of, you make that checklist in your head. If I can have this, I'll do it. And all those things just kept happening. So I'm like, okay. So I said, if I can do the same job at the Paul Mitchell San Diego schools I'm doing in Arkansas, I'll do it. And if I can find something, we actually talked about this on the way here. It was like, if I can find a place I can live at that's this much, which I kept sending him like places in Tijuana. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm like,
I had no idea.
You would have ended up.
That's amazing.
I had no idea.
Tijuana happens to be Mexico. I'm sure everyone knows that. But
Oh.
If you're from Arkansas, apparently you don't know that.
You have no idea. Well, my rent back home for a brand new, beautiful apartment was $500 a month. And so I told him, my budget's $700. That was stretching it for me. And so
you
he's
can
like,
rent
you
a room at
can't
someone's
be,
grandma's house
that's
for
what he
that.
said, you can't even be a roommate. So I sent him these places that I thought were even above budget. But he's like, Lauren, that's in Mexico. That's why it's $600 a month and it's right on the beach.
It's so close.
Like, it doesn't, no. And so, anyways, it just kept working out. And then worked at the school, and gosh, I think like a year and a half later, a year later, he proposed, and then 6 months later, we got married. And
Aww.
4.5 years later, here we are.
How is it being married to a stylist?
I think we've had conversations about this a lot.
That question applies to both of you.
At the time, you
Should
were
I
more
go like
so
this?
teachers, too. You were educators, so
Yeah.
it was a little bit different than, I mean, same premise, but yeah, I think dealing with students and dealing with your own clients is different, but yeah, I'd love to hear the insight on that.
Yeah, and well, I think so me being a straight male hairdresser in a woman-dominated industry, I think there, like, is trust and grace, and understanding and forgiveness and stuff like that. We believe in marriage. We decided before we got married that we didn't want like a contractual marriage. Like if you contractual language is if you, then I.
Yep.
So like if you do this, then I will stay married to you or whatever. So we decided we wanted a covenantal relationship where it's like even if you don't, I still will. So I think in the hair industry, it was important because, I mean, there's just tons of people around that live completely different lives than we live, or the way we choose to live our life. And so we just we actually looked through this bag like two nights ago. Yeah, and they were like our wedding vows were in there. I'm like, oh my gosh. And we found them. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me read these. And we were like, I was like getting choked up reading them and stuff.
Yeah, read these right now.
And I was like, they still matter. You know what I mean? I still mean every word that I said. And so no matter what, I mean, we decided. We're old and crusty. So I think that's what it takes, especially in the hair industry. And so we just loved each other through every mistake. We knew we were going to make mistakes. We knew we were going to do the wrong thing, from time to time. And we just grow to know each other and love each other more every day.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we could give that kind of grace to like other salon owners, people that work next to you, your coworkers, your friends, like everybody? Like if we could all just take a position like that to. Not if you are this kind of friend, or if you are this kind of boss, or if you run this kind of a salon, then I will show up for you.
Yep.
If we could just retrain our minds to show up and be that no matter what. Kumbaya.
Yeah.
But like that's beautiful, and I think you getting lucky getting in on this because this partnership too sets the tone for what is allowed in your space.
Yep.
Because if you guys are showcasing this is how you treat each other, that's just going to rub off. It's like parenting, right? Like you learn that with parenting. You don't tell them what to do. You show them how to be.
Yep.
You lead by example. and you love your kids even if they fuck up,
Yeah, doesn't
right?
matter.
Like you give the grace to them. Like why don't we give that grace to our people around us? It's just it's the standards are always a little different. But so where's this guy come into play? How did we meet him?
We worked at Robert Cromian's together.
Okay.
Let's just.
Yeah.
They have a longer relationship.
So you guys have known each
We've
other
been
longer.
together longer.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's
we
why.
have a
Yes.
longer standing relationship.
Yes. As opposed to good friendships. Yeah.
Yeah. We worked at Robert's together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took a sabbatical from the schools. That's what we're calling it, right?
Sabbatical.
We're calling it. I took a sabbatical from the schools at one point during my long school career, and then we just I think we were the only two similar people in the salon. I think we just set up next to each other. We're like, let's get the ones by the windows.
Yeah. You have the two front stations.
The two front stations.
You
Yeah.
bro down.
Yeah.
What are you doing? That looks expensive. That's cool. We
Yeah, we're
gas each other up.
yeah. Like, what's the best compliment you can give somebody in the salon? It's like, dude, that looks expensive, dude.
Nice. I
Lily's
love
like,
that.
yeah,
I'm gonna steal
stay.
that.
And then
Yeah.
we turn the chairs next
Oh,
to
like
each
when you
other.
were working on clients?
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
4 people just chatting.
Yeah.
They had a little studio within the
Yeah.
Inside the school?
This was Robert Cromian's salon.
Okay, when you were
And
working.
he-
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And
My
we'd
hood.
like, hey, dude, you got a break right now? You got a break? Like, we'd go to Buffalo Exchange, just
Yeah.
buy a bunch of crap we don't need all the time.
Totally.
But yeah, it was like hanging out, you know.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a cool time because we were just doing hair.
Mhm.
We didn't know any better. $20 for a haircut.
Yep.
Come on in. Like,
Yeah.
I worked there too. I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
So Robert Cromian's has a training salon that they send you after you graduate school. You can go into, or after you're done assisting. Sorry.
Yeah.
You have to go through the assistant program, if I remember right. Yeah, that was about a year. I did like a year and a half, and then they put you in a salon that they have in Pacific Beach. New talent.
salon.
And the prices are very reasonable, and it's in like a college town where I still live, and it's a cool vibe. That salon is such a cool vibe.
Oh,
like it's a place to grow, and they really honor and let you guys kind of figure it out. So
Yeah.
man, I wish I
Lots of discoveries.
Yes.
Made there.
We built
Yes,
the, we
that's
built the clientele pretty fast.
yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
And we
Yeah.
share clients like, oh, yeah, I have time. Oh, go see Clint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go see Luke.
I'll finish looking
Cool.
on you. Yeah, it was always great.
That's awesome.
That was so fun.
He's like, I got a highlight client. I'm like, okay, I'm standing over their head.
I'm like,
I
I have no
He's
clue.
like, what?
Yeah, I just want. I had two color clients the whole time I was there, and I was like, how do I not do color? I had to get so busy doing haircuts that there's just no room. So I did all these haircuts back to back. I looked at our tip piles at the end of the day, and I'm like, damn it, why am I not doing color? But I would just figure out. I had one lady that had a retouch. She was my favorite client. And then this one college girl, this super pretty blonde college girl, came to me for highlights. And I was like, why do you keep coming to me? I suck at this. And he would just stand over and be like, dude, you're not doing it right. Hold on, come here. We're going to make some color. We'll be right, before. He's like drawing it on like a piece of like.
Let me give her
Yeah, he would draw it real quick. It was, I've never stressed out like that in my life. I feel sweaty right now thinking about it.
Right? Well, there's
Highlights.
certain things I think in every stylist career that they don't like doing, and it makes them feel like that. They make them get sweaty, makes you want to you get a little anxious before, and after you're done, you're just exhausted because you really didn't want to be doing it.
Yeah, emotionally drained.
Totally.
Yeah. I think it was the very first thing that we did. I needed to go to a.
You're trying to go to that in Vegas.
Yeah, I was trying to go to an event in Vegas.
Yeah.
Had to pay
Was
my
it
own
signature
way.
or was it
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did a
so,
class to raise money to buy his ticket.
yeah,
Did a class
That's
to raise
the
money.
sauce,
I
right?
love that.
yeah, it was so cool, and it was we had the best time. It was so fun. People paid to come.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Oh,
We didn't know what to
They just
charge,
liked
how
you
to
guys.
organize it. We just winged it.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
We did it like a
You
cut
taught a
and
class?
Color. So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
held it in the salon because I was going to work it, I think, and then Clint's
Mhm.
like, I want to go, but I can't afford it. So we're like, dude, let's do a class and we'll charge people, and then we'll then you have the money to go.
So was that your first actual class that you
Yes.
charged
That
money
was the
for?
first class.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see how things where you could do things not out of scarcity, but out of a need. Like he
Need.
needed to make money to get
Uh-huh.
that ticket, and you guys did whatever you needed to do. You're like, what are we good at? Let's teach something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you did color,
Mhm.
and I taught the haircut.
You didn't do color? You did a highlight?
I teach you highlights. No, it was never
Really diagonal.
really diagonal. That's all I know. I teach a root retouch class, but
Right? Yeah, I can do those all day. Oh my, I have a terrible story from Signature. Side note: if you guys are in the hair industry, you know there's big shows that are in Vegas all the time. But Signature is a Paul Mitchell show that gets put on. And back in the day, I had just finally cut my hair off. I had this sick little A-line bob. Right, everyone just did the cut you have to do after school.
Yeah.
And I have gnarly, curly, frizzy hair. And I'm in the back. We're styling. We're doing all the things. And Ira comes up to me. You guys, Ira Pope, yeah. And he's like, I need a model, and you're gonna be my model. And I'm like, okay, super green. And they're talking, they're getting me in this little skimpy outfit. Someone's about to do my makeup, and I hear them say, yeah, we're gonna do the fang bang on her. And I'm like, I knew what the fang bang was, and I'm like, no, but I have curly hair. You can't cut my hair like that. Like the fang bang is one. Back then, it was like to the And so my mentor at the time was Abe, and Abe got me out of that, and I'm forever grateful for never having to have the fang bang. I like cried like a fucking baby because I was like, please don't make me get the fang bang.
You're about to throw you to the wolves.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been bad. It would have been bad.
She's new.
Yeah. I probably would have quit. I would have never done hair again. Probably would have scarred me for life. So be bold enough to say no to shit.
Yeah.
So here we are. We have Varsity Education is like your guys' main platform that you teach on. Yeah. So is that through? How do people get access to that? Is it all online, or do you guys? You were doing in-person classes before. Yeah. We couldn't do that.
We did some traveling for salon education, for people's like yearly or quarterly like cutting education. We also did typically four local workshops, and then we did some in-salon education locally. But COVID happened, and so a lot of those dates kind of trickled, and they're like, hey, let's just wait till next year, which is great because we're starting up some calendar classes for 2021.
Cool.
But mostly through social media. I mean, we feel like, I never want to do things like people used to do it. You know, like the famous last words of a business, right? That's how it's always been done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we've survived doing 20 classes a year for the past couple years. Direct message, you know, like Varsity Instagram, you know. Those,
no real website.
We've tried to do a website, and we're like either cursed for some reason with website stuff. I don't know. Like, we just can't figure it out, but I'm sure we will. But Instagram, that's been that's all you honestly really need. Like a new generation currency is like social media, you know, and I think lastly, you probably go to someone's website if you want some extended information.
Sure.
It's like your followers, you know, will typically go to your Instagram, and your fans will then proceed on to your website.
Right.
So a lot of times we give them everything they need to know in an Instagram. So that's what we've been doing, yeah. So Varsity Hair Education on Instagram is typically the way to go. Or direct message to us both, you know?
Yep. I know you guys are so accessible and always like willing to like chat people up. And I think we actually met at Anthony Edge did a cutting event. It was like last year. I mean, it feels like it was forever ago. And that was my first
last year.
That was last year. I think it was last year, right?
It was
the beginning of the year.
It was 2020.
I don't even know. Yeah. So that was my first like chance to meet you. I think we both. I don't know if I had met you prior to that too, or if maybe. I knew you guys through social media and like all of our current friends because I've been in San Diego my whole life, and so my whole career has been here.
Ain't that big.
It's not that big, especially in our industry. It's just not.
It's like a small big city.
Yeah,
it is.
And it was then that like it was funny. I would have never got on that stage to cut or do something had I not been able to talk about what I'm bringing in.
Yeah.
So Anthony was like, "Oh, you get to come talk about your business," and I was like, "Cool. Can I not cut? I just want to talk about my business. I just want to like get up and talk and like speak to people because otherwise I'll be distracted cutting."
Sure.
And he's like, "No, you have to do a model," and I'm like, "Okay, fine." And then it tells me we're sharing the stage, and I'm like, "Man, I just thought I had this big stage. I was gonna be able to share my message," and he was like, "Hey, you got to get up and do all these things," but like that's where getting out of your own way. Like I was nervous. I haven't got on stage and done anything in years. Like, but then you think, I have something important that I want to share and teach. Yeah. This is who it's for. A room full of hairdressers. Like I better get my ass up there and do that. So this is like me letting, even 20 years in, I still get nervous to like show up and do things. Even though I could do that haircut and color in my sleep, it's still like, for me being able to articulate it, it just made me really appreciate what you guys do with education, because to get another person to understand what we do, especially color formulations and like placement and the big words, I was like, can you just dumb that down and just show me? Because I'm a visual learner, so I could literally watch it and not hear a thing and take just as much away as if you were trying to talk to me about it. Sure. So I think being able to teach it in different fashions, because we all learn differently, it just gave me a whole new respect for like what you guys do too. So you guys, along with like Ben and James, like and even DJ, like everyone's like bringing up this education and making it fun and exciting in a way it wasn't like back in my day.
Sure.
Like you didn't want to watch the videos. Like I went through, you know, back, and I watched the color videos I needed to learn, but it wasn't relayed in a cool way, in a really teachable way that you guys are doing. So how can people reach you through social media?
Yep. Varsity Hair Education on Instagram.
And then where is the new salon located?
It's in Oceanside.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's North County, San Diego.
Okay.
Right by the beach.
And so are you guys full? Is the staff, like, are you guys totally staffed up? Or are you taking assistants maybe down the road?
We're always open.
Yeah. Always open, yeah. So if
he literally just handed that off.
Yeah.
Lauren?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, we've only been open for a month, so we do have. Gosh, we actually interviewed two people the past 2 days.
Cool.
But we've got 8 stylists. We have 7 stations, but
that's
we
awesome.
Still have,
right. And you never know when this podcast comes out or wherever you guys are at. If you're ever interested in a salon, my best suggestion is always to ask if you could just hang out for the day.
Yeah.
Can I come shadow? Can I pass you foils? Can I just see how you work? Because it's just as much an interview for you to see how a salon operates as it is for them to pick you up. You know, you sometimes have an idea of what a salon is going to be like, and then you get in there and it's nothing like you expected it.
100%.
And vice versa. You go in and you present your best self to the owners as I can do all these things, and maybe that's not really how you want to show up. So I always try to make sure that even people that come in and interview with me, I'm like, I really want you to do your due diligence and see what other salons are out there before you decide on a place here. Absolutely. And then we can come together and decide what your career is going to look like here. Yeah. Because I think your hair home is so important, and you spend so many hours, and it's like, this is where your best energy is spent. So if you got to be able to bring as much and then take it home with you too, and it be just like a family. It's your family.
100%.
Yeah. And I just feel that from you guys like so much. It's such a cool thing to like watch. So I just really want to congratulate you guys on the new space and what you're doing. Because it motivates people like me to like keep trying to do new shit that I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing either.
Right.
You just figure it out.
Just try and be better than the time before.
Yes, right?
I mean, that's how we look at Citizens. We're like, okay, how can we make it better? How can we make the team better? How can we make the space better? How can we make the environment better? So we're constantly trying to do that. And so far, 6 weeks in, it's been okay.
Yeah. And where can people find you, Lucas? Because you're fun to follow too.
Just on Instagram.
Yeah.
Lucas Doney. Just
his name.
Fancy.
Yes.
And then we have Citizen Salon on Instagram too.
Yeah. Okay. And are you big on Instagram too?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's la.norris.
Okay.
Yeah, and Lauren does our Citizen
Instagram too.
She's really got everything. She's spinning all the plates.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We appreciate her for that.
So
and keeping 2 kids alive.
Yeah.
Amen. I mean, at this point, they're pretty like alive.
How old are
they're
your
pretty
kids now?
hardy. 2 and 3.
2. Okay. Wow, you're in it. Yeah.
I'm in like the we're in the really hard stage right now.
3. Yeah.
Well,
and you have a husband too. Yeah.
And you.
Oh, I said that with love.
I'm like the one that comes
and
over
all
on
of our
weekends.
team.
You're like the nephew, right?
I'm
You're like the
one
little
that comes
nephew.
over on the weekends that you don't really like the neighbor kid.
And you like him even more because he leaves. Yeah, that one, right?
You're funny for 5 minutes. So go home now.
Oh my god! So we're gonna follow back up in a couple months after the salon's been open, and I'd love to come up and like show the space.
Please.
Yeah, that would be really rad. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah,
thank you.
If we could leave one more bit of inspiration or a message to up and coming stylists or anybody, even if they're in a career path like you guys or where I'm at, like I always like to leave them with some sort of motivating words or advice. Do you have any last takeaways you guys want to share? Because we're talking to our people. This is for us.
I'm gonna say it. I think you know what I'm gonna say.
You're gonna say what I say.
No, I'm not gonna say that.
When they finish each other's
You should say it at the same time.
No.
What if it's
I know
different?
where he's going. I know where he's going. Go ahead. Yours is good.
You know it.
I already used mine.
Okay. If you're the best one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
If you're the best one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yep.
Okay.
So surrounding yourself with people that are better than you.
Yes.
Financially, better than me. With money. With how she treats people. Everything. So I want to be more like her. And then Lucas, same thing. Like how he lives his life, and then how he does hair. And then how like giving of his time that he is, and so I think that I want to surround myself with people that are better than me, so then they kind of pull you up to par, and so I think if you're the best one in the room, you kind of there's no one to pour into you as well. You need to find another room.
I love that. Yeah. Lucas, I know you got something else you could say.
I mean, I agree with Clinton, and I'm just going to elaborate on what he said. I think that it's important for us in this industry to surround ourselves with those people.
Yeah.
And not specifically just those people, but also the people that are going to pour into you and that are going to lead from the back and push you into those uncomfortable situations.
Yes.
And I think that finding those people that don't have as much ego and that they're there to like champion you and like put the spotlight on you. I think we've been lucky enough to be like that. I'll push any one of these people into the spotlight, and I will take 10 steps backwards for their moment to shine. And I think that's so important to have those people around you, and I think there's so much value in that.
So much.
Yeah.
I know Mama's gonna come up with a good closer.
Oh no, just when you said like push you to be uncomfortable, I think that's just such a big thing, like our generation right now is just so comfort based. So COVID's just like shaking everything up. We're so used to knowing what's next, and I mean social media, like we can predict like what's happening, and so I think just like keep pushing yourself out of like when you feel comfortable. I just keep thinking like just sitting here now has just made me think like of us opening the space and me going, I'm going to leave my full-time job, and now we have 2 kids, and I'm going to try to pursue a career and make more money than I was making before and build a clientele. But I did. And I think like the big thing is I just took the risk and I just kept being uncomfortable, and like they said, just made sure I was like not the best one in the room. Like always, like someone's always going to be there to help elevate you too, and
totally
just don't be comfortable.
I love that. Wasn't it you that gave me the description of you want the comfort zone to be bigger?
Yeah,
wasn't that you and I had that? Yes.
Yeah.
You don't step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, you don't get out of your comfort zone. You just make your comfort zone bigger.
That was huge. That stuck with me after our interview, which was a few weeks ago. Yeah. And it just really shifted my perspective, because I was like, I'm super uncomfortable on the regular with all of the new things that I'm trying to do. But the biggest thing is getting around people who are doing bigger and better things than you. Yep. Because how else are you going to see what's possible? Yeah. If you're like the top of the top, like, wow, that's great. There's like, if it's not in you to want to grow, that's fine too. Like, do you. Like, stay where you're at. This obviously isn't for you. Like, if you're listening to podcasts and you're seeking out inspiration and help and education at this level, like, you definitely want to be better. You definitely want to push yourself to grow. So then this is for you. And how you do that is, if it's not in your space, say you're from Arkansas and you don't have a bigger batter salon to go to, what do? You find education online. You listen to podcasts like this. You at least ingest the information of people doing things that you want to be doing. Or you do that. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Or you just make it happen in that space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's how this came to be. You know, San Diego is like that. It's like someone stepped out of some sort of
comfort zone.
Maybe not out of the box. Maybe they expanded their comfort zone. But
that's amazing. Well, again, congratulations on everything, and we'll have you guys back around for another round. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, which I know you did, please drop us a comment or leave us a review and tag the guys and the gal here and let us know. And we'll